Hi folks, welcome back to the channel. So it has now been confirmed, just yesterday in fact, that Square Enix are going to be making a presentation at this year's E3. Now they didn't do this last year, of course, because E3 itself was cancelled and they instead opted to put on their own digital show. However, their presentation this year is going to be taking place at E3 in June 2021. And I think this is relevant to those of us on this channel that are looking forward to learning more about their upcoming Final Fantasy projects, in particular with Final Fantasy 16, because it was last year that Square told us we can be expecting quite a bit more information about that game this year, 2021. And of course, at least up until this point, April, we haven't yet had much given to us. So it makes sense that they would be saving a lot of their information, perhaps a trailer or whatever the case may be, for a big event like E3. Now, a lot of people are suspecting, and to be honest with you, I'm pretty much on board with this, that Final Fantasy 16 is going to be released in 2022. The fact that Square have already said we can expect a lot of information this year would point us in that direction, that the game will then be coming out next year. In terms of Final Fantasy VII Remake, well, of course, we've got Intergrade coming out about the same time as E3 this year. It is also coming out in June, and Square have said that is really going to be the only DLC content since it was really made for PS5 in order to bring the series onto PS5, and that from this point on, rather than expecting more DLC, we just need to be looking towards the actual future games in that series. So when it comes to Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 2, I actually wouldn't expect anything at E3 this year. So I say that because I know a lot of you are probably going to be getting your hopes up now you know that Square will be doing this presentation. I wouldn't expect FF7R2. I would expect the focus, hopefully anyway, we're going to be getting FF16 news, so expect the focus to stay on that game for the time being. They probably will talk about Intergrade for FF7R, and then maybe towards the end of this year, they'll probably do what they did with FF16 last year, give us a teaser trailer, you know, make us aware of the game a little bit more in detail, and then probably tell us to expect more information about FF7R Part 2 next year. So this year, we can probably expect a teaser and a title reveal, but I would expect that towards the end of the year rather than at E3. Next year, hopefully, will be the year of information for FF7R Part 2, and then I would expect perhaps a release the following year, 2023. That will just seem to follow the pattern that they're going for with FF16, and also with FF7R to some degree, the first part, because even though that was announced years before, we can also say there was a kind of soft announcement in 2019, where they just started giving us loads of information all of a sudden, and then the game came out, of course, last year, the following year, 2020. So if we can expect the same sort of thing going forward, I expect FF16 to be talked about at E3. If it's not talked about at E3, then there must be some other plan for FF16, because we are going to be getting information about that this year. Like I say, E3 just makes sense, and then the release next year. So apologies if that was confusing, but let me try and summarise a little more concisely. The end of last year, we had a trailer and title reveal for Final Fantasy 16, with the proviso that we could expect a dump of information this year, 2021. Hence why we need to be paying attention to E3 in June. That's hopefully going to lead to a release of Final Fantasy 16 next year, 2022. Okay, so title and trailer reveal at the end of 2020, dump of information in 2021, potential release in 2022. Let's contextualize that over to Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 2, and hopefully we can expect a title and trailer perhaps at the end of this year, leading to a dump of information for that game next year, 2022, and hopefully leading to a release of FF7R Part 2 in 2023. All that to mean, don't expect anything really on FF7R Part 2 at E3. But of course, Square are Square. They can do whatever the heck they want when it comes to announcing and talking about their own games. But I would be surprised if Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 2 has any part in their E3 plans. But let's go ahead here and just talk some quotes. So these have been translated to us by Audrey over at Twitter as always. I'll drop a link in the description to her feed. According to Square Enix CEO Matsuda, in addition to the upcoming games of Nier Replicant, which was or is releasing tomorrow, April 22nd, and FF7R Intergrade coming to PS5 in June, Square Enix also has plans to announce games one after the other during E3 in June 2021. So this is the first official announcement that Square will be partaking in E3. And the quotes go on. Outriders, which was originally delayed, was released at the start of this month, and Nier Replicants will be out this month too. FF7R Intergrade is in June. We also have many other games lined up, so please look forward to E3 in June, where we can make announcements then. And finally, it's also been noted that Square are going to be doing their own event, Square Enix Presents. This was an event they also did back in spring. I'm sure many of you will remember that. They announced a bunch of stuff. But that is also supposed to be taking place in the summer. Now, a little bit interesting that they would be doing two events, Square Enix Presents and E3, within the same season. I strongly suspect that what we're going to see is that their Square Enix Presents event is in fact their E3 presentation. It will simply be called Square Enix Presents. And then Audrey finishes, this isn't a quote, aka please give me FF16 news. Yeah, I think we can reasonably expect FF16 to start getting more information at E3. Based on the fact that it is probably the biggest gaming event of the year, and it was just last year that Square Enix themselves said we can expect more information about this game in 2021. But I will, of course, be keeping you folks updated on any exciting Final Fantasy 16 or Final Fantasy 7 Remake updates and news, so make sure you stay tuned to the channel. If you've enjoyed this video, please don't forget to just drop a like and have a great day. I'll see you next time. Take care, everyone. Goodbye.